Namaskar to my viewers and listeners. I am Dr. Priyanka Suryavanshi, working as Assistant Professor in Department of Home Science at KMC UAF State Government University, Lucknow. So the presentation is related to the paper Infant Stimulation being taught in PG courses of Human Development and Family Studies, a branch of Home Science. Topics covered are as follows. So the topic is concept of infant stimulation, and subtopics under it are definition and meaning of infant stimulation, aims of infant stimulation. The main topic is cognitive development in infancy, and subtopics under it are cognitive development and brain wiring in infants and developmental tasks. The main topic is attachment theory, and the subtopics under it are attachment theory and attachment style. The topic is role of family environment in parents in infant stimulation, and subtopics under it are parenting styles and activities related to infant stimulation. But by understanding the word infant and stimulation. An infant is a Latin word meaning unable to speak or speechless. It is a synonym to young born baby or offspring of human being. Infancy is span of life between birth to 2 years of age. As we know that these are the foundation years of life, and primary caregiver have to be very careful and sensitive for the period. As per Cambridge Dictionary, stimulation is an action or thing that causes someone or something to become more active or enthusiastic or to develop or operate. Thus, coming to the definition of infant stimulation means stimulating infants through playing or doing activities by using sense of sight, sound, taste, touch and smell. So all the little activities that we do by using vision or the sound or maybe the feeling of touch that makes the infant curious, playful, ultimately is a part of stimulation. Care should be taken for less or overstimulation. Positive stimulation in optimum amount is important for development. It is very important as positive stimulation helps in arousing curiosity, increasing attention span, memory and cognitive development. So that is why we are discussing and why it is an important part of infant development. So let's see the aims of infant stimulation. Why these little activities or our playing with the child to stimulate the child is so important. Stimulating the child through the normal developmental channels. When you are doing these small activities to stimulate an infant, it automatically helps in fulfilling the developmental tasks or achieving the developmental task through normal developmental channels. For example, if you're playing with a child, then he or she throws his hands and legs to play with the person. So automatically it helps in the fine and gross muscles development. Identification of developmental delay. While playing with the child or while stimulating the child, often the parents or the family members will be able to identify if there is any developmental delay. Promotes gross and fine motor development. As discussed above, these activities automatically helps in the gross and fine motor development of the child. Muscle wasting is prevented. Promotes joint contraction and movement. It decreases tightness of muscles and tendons to detect any developmental challenges that children would be facing. Now, this developmental delay or challenge could not be just physical, it could be cognitive also. So, a number of activities that we do also helps us in detecting if there is any cognitive issue, if there is any cognitive delay in the child. That is also identified and it helps in following the normal route or channel of development with the child. So as we have discussed, often parents concentrate on the physical development of infant because actually it is visible through the reflexes or increase in weight, height. So parents are able to identify that, recognize that, and they focus on that. But another important development area, that is cognitive development in infants, is often overlooked Therefore, it is important that through infant stimulation paper and awareness, knowledge has to be generated that parents do give importance to this important area of development in infancy. Physical development is important and is often cared for because has visible changes in infants, often measured and analyzed with the help of basic reflexes, weight and height changes. Brain development is very crucial as formation of synapse takes place. These wirings and connections made by children and fans further lays down the foundation of mental abilities and growth. But this development is often not visible. Parents are generally focusing on physical development, hence, awareness about cognitive development during infancy is very much required. Now, what is this formation of synapses? In our nervous system, the two neurons often form a connection through their axon and dendrites, and these little joints where these connections are being made is very important. Although synapses is made throughout the lifespan of human, but this is the time when an explosion of this synapses formation takes place, and it is very crucial for cognitive development. So every activity, every stimulus that we place in front of the child, that creates curiosity, that creates an enthusiasm in the child, and that positively impacts the formation of a synapses. So theories like Piaget theory of cognitive development or ecological theory of Bronfenbrenner, they all talked about the importance of environment, and especially Piaget has concentrated on the sensory motor development in infants. He told that cognitive development in infants is often happening through their senses, that is the sense of sight, sound, touch, smell, taste. So with these senses they try to explore their environment, and we through our sensory stimulation activities actually help them and encourage them in uh, placing these sensory stimulus and helping them to use their sensory senses of sight, sound, touch, smell, and taste to explore the environment. Thus, in this process, a number of synapses are being formed, and we are adding on to the cognitive development, healthy cognitive development of infants. So, with this exploration and primary caregiver and family also contribute by arranging these experiences or encouraging these experiences through infant stimulation. Thus the main aim of infant stimulation is to help and contribute in healthy cognitive development of infants. Now the thing is that just doing once an activity doesn't helps out in this development, because these synapses which are being formed are also eliminated with time. So when a stimulus is being repeated or the activity is done daily, then it makes a permanent synapse and it will stay on, otherwise it will be eliminated. So it is not that just one day we do a activity in the form of infant stimulation and it will make a permanent synapse in the brain. So it is very important that parents have to understand that this is a process that continues. So infant stimulation is a ongoing process that has to be done slowly, daily, as a part of development and not just one day thing. Next topic is developmental task and infant stimulation. Infant stimulation helps in following normal course of developmental task and helps in identification of developmental delay. So often we are saying that infant stimulation will help the parent to know the normal course, normal developmental task, whether it is being followed or not, and whether there is developmental delay or not. So first, to identify developmental delays or whether the course of development is normal or not, the parent should understand very well about developmental task. So it is very necessary to discuss what is developmental task and how we have to identify whether these tasks are being performed by the child or not. A developmental task is a task that arises at or about a certain period in life, unsuccessful achievement of which leads to inability to perform tasks associated with the next period stage in life. So Havigast has given beautifully the developmental tasks or milestones that children should achieve or the child should achieve for successful development in the later phases or stages of life. So, as human development students, you all have studied in undergraduate courses about developmental task. So, let's have a brief revision of that so we are able to relate. So, we have number of developmental tasks. For example, we have key developmental milestones for gross motor development. Example, at 3 months, the child should be able to hold his neck. At 5 months, he should be able to roll over. 6 months, sits in tripod fashion, sitting with own support. At 8 months, sitting without support. So in this way, we try to observe the child whether he is able to follow the milestones successfully or not. In the same way we have fine motor milestones also. For example, at 4 months, the infant should be able to reach out for objects with both the hands. At 6 months, reaching out for objects with one hand. At 9 months, immature pincer grabs probes with forefinger, but at the age of 12 months, pincer grabs mature. So in these way, we have to just check on the milestones whether the child is achieving it or not. Along with these physical milestones, we have social adaptive milestones also. For example, at 2 months of age, the child starts giving social smile. So suppose if the child is of 3 months and we are not observing a social smile in the child while doing these stimulus activities, playing with the child, that smile is absent, then it is a sign that there is a developmental delay, or it could be a developmental delay. Then the parents have to refer to a child specialist or take an advice from the specialist and take it seriously. So this is how you identify these developmental delays. So these little activities of social play or stimulus activities help the parents to identify whether this normal development is going on or there is some delay in that. So for example, at 3 months, the child starts recognizing the mother. At 6 months, he starts recognizes a stranger. At 9 months, he starts saying bye or waving his hand to show bye. 12 months comes when called by play simple ball games. So if these things are not being observed, then we need to worry about it, and not worry, but we need consultation from the specialist, and we have to go for interventions. This, while doing these activities with infants, to stimulate parent is able to observe whether the infant is following normal course of development or not. In case of delay, early recognition and early intervention is very beneficial. Some important characteristics of infancy period that we should keep in our mind while handling the infant. Infancy is the shortest period after prenatal period. Though it is the shortest period, as I've discussed earlier, it is very crucial as for cognitive development, so that should be in our mind. Infancy is a period of adjustment. When an infant comes out of the womb, the whole environment gets changed. There's change in temperature, as the womb was very warm and a maintained temperature was there inside the womb. The food, air, or whatever requirement the child had was being provided through the mother, but now coming out of the womb, the child has to adjust to that external environment. He has to breathe, she has to swallow the food or milk, so to make digestive and respiratory systems functional. So the infant goes through all adjustment uh, through this phase. Infancy is period full of hazards. There are also many physical hazards and also psychological hazards. So all these factors should be kept in mind while handling infants. Attachment theory. John Pauli first explained theory of attachment, who observed and studied separation anxiety among infants who were separated from their primary caregivers. So Bavli gave the attachment theory, and what he studied is that the separation anxiety of infants when they were separated from their primary caregivers, and also on the returning of their primary caregiver, the infants who were happy about it and got and clinged with their parents, and there was a group which was crying, howling, shouting, expressing their anger even after the return of the parent. So all that was studied by him, and based on that he gave his theory, which is related to the attachment or bond that an infant forms with the primary giver, or about the human relationship bonds in future. So human by natural he believed that humans by natural selection acquire these instincts to increase chance of survival. If the child is close or clinging to mother, there would be less chances of the infants to fall for the prey of accidents or dangers. So Bowley thought that due to evolutionary reasons, the humans have acquired this attachment bond that keeps the infant close to the mother, and in turn, it saves the infant from the dangers. Coming to parenting styles. There are three types of parenting styles: democratic parenting or authoritative parenting. We'll be discussing first. In democratic parenting style, the parents deal with their children with warmth and love. They have rules and regulations in home, but that rules are discussed democratically with children. For example, let's take an example that parents make a rule that the children have to return early in the evening, that is by 6, because the environment outside is not so safe. So when that rule is being made by a democratic parent, they generally reason out with their children. They sit with children and discuss the reason why they are willing that children should return at a particular time in the evening. They discuss about the safety issues that they feel. So children understand their feeling and they have that flexibility. Suppose a single day the child wants to remain out for a longer, maybe there's a party or something like that, then children reason out, they are flexible enough. They may make arrangements. For example, they may leave the child, they pick up the child, keep the child in touch through a telephone or so, but it is genuinely being discussed, reasoned out, and this is how the parenting is done. The characteristic of this parenting is love, warmth, affection. Parents are demanding, but the demand is always reasonable. Rules and regulations are being formed in the family, but with reasons, and they are flexible to situations. So that is what is democratic parenting is all about. The second parenting style is authoritarian parenting style. The second style, authoritarian, where parents are demanding and strict. There are rules and regulations which are made by parents without discussion. Hence, generally, children follow that in respect or fear of the authority. Often at teenagers, it becomes conflicting when the fear goes off. So, in this type of parenting, generally, parents are very strict towards the rules that they make. They are demanding, and the rules regulations that are made in the house are without giving any explanation or reason to the children. It is just that the rule is made and the child has to follow without any questions. So generally the children who follow those rules is out of fear or maybe respect to the authority. But especially at the teen ages, when these issues come in conflict with the child's social demands or any such demands, then parents do feel that issues very severely. So these sort of parenting includes demandingness, strictness, not loving and warm, cold and strict with rules and regulations, and are not flexible also. For example, the earlier example, if the child has to come at 6 p.m., then the child has to come. There is no flexibility, there is no change in the rules, and if the child doesn't follow, he or she may be punished. Permissive parenting style. Third is permissive parenting, in which the parents leave the children free without any involvement or restriction. Now let's see these parenting styles in relation to infants. At the age of infancy, the only demand that is for the parents as the perspective of style, like democratic parents, love, warmth, and affection is something very, very important for the child, for the infant. So maybe a strict parent is strict in toilet training or forming other habits of the infant or bringing the infant in a schedule. So that is how it can hamper or put an adverse effect on the infant. One has to be very gentle, loving, caring for the infancy period. Coming to permissive style, often parents we find maybe in even in the lower economic sections where parents have to go for livelihood, they often leave their infants in a neglecting way because they are not available when the child is crying or is maybe hungry or needs care. Often we find at the labor sites that children are lying down in the infancy period and parents, mother and father, are working, maybe as construction workers, and the child is crying for that need, so that has adverse effect. A child should not, or an infant should not be neglected of love and affection. That is the basic requirement. So among these parentings, democratic parenting is always considered safer, better, and good for development, even for infants. Importance of child rearing practices and role of environment in child rearing. So, as we have discussed different parenting styles, these parenting styles or rearing practices ultimately shape the identity development of a child. What is identity development? Basically, identity development has two components: exploration and commitment. Generally, a child explores the environment, and with the help of his her experiences, exploration of the environment, they go for commitment. For example, a child may explore all the courses and then finally decide whether the child is going in the science streams, commerce stream, or arts stream. So that exploration is very much required before making the commitment, and that forms the best identity style, that is informative identity style. And to form that ability of exploring and then coming to commitment, democratic parenting and good child rearing practices is really supporting. So identity development is very important component of one's life. It starts as a child enters cradle, and here comes our infancy period. As the infant enters the cradle, as the infant starts observing his her hands and legs and starts feeling his her existence in this world, the process of identity development starts. Heredity decides the potentials of the infant, which is going to develop into a child and then a human being, but it is environment that would decide whether child achieves it or not. Hence environment of child, which constitute nutrition, rearing practices, stimulation, ecosystem, ultimately shapes development of child. And in this paper we are especially discussing the role of early stimulation that the parents can include in their child rearing practices at the very early stage of infancy and help in the development of the child. Parents' role and family environment for infant stimulation. Parents' role and family environment is very important for infants' growth and development. Along with healthy nutrition and immunization, parents have to be made aware about infant stimulation and cognitive development. It has to be explained that this time is of great importance for brain development. Small electrical connections are made called synapses. Every experience or stimulation creates a connection, but they eventually die out. So repetition of these healthy stimulation activities is very important. So it's an ongoing story, not one day activity. Just reading a story once in front of infant doesn't create long lasting impact. But instead of that, parents should read a small story daily with the infant. That would gain better results in forming permanent connections. Thus, using the sensory stimulation path with sense of sight, sound, smell, taste, and touch, parents can give good sensory stimulation to the infants. Stimulation activities for parenting, for parents and family. The stimulation activities should be given to the infants. Before that, we have to ensure these three basic things. First of all, that the infant is not hungry, his her tummy should be filled. Second, his her nappy should be dry. And third, the child should be in a good mood. So these basic things have to be kept in mind while going for these activities. Also, it is important to always have a child specialist consulting uh, before going for all these activities. So training for that is very important. Parents should always consult for that. Activities related to vision. Now let's see some simple basic activities which parents can do with infants to give them a visionary stimulation. When a boy, when a baby boy or girl is born, his her sight is not so developed. Newborn can focus about 8 inches and has two-dimensional view. But soon this sense develops fast and becomes an important and main means of exploring the world. So some activities are, infants generally get attached to bold and sharp patterns. So activity like you can make shapes, simple shapes as circle, square, triangle, and can be placed in front of the infant to observe. We should keep in mind that bold and maybe pastel bright colors attract infants. Infants are more attracted to moving objects. For example, if a curtain is moving or a fan is rotating or a simple toy can be kept above the cradle which rotates, then infants find that interesting to observe and are inquisitive to look over them. Infants we can take infants to short rides, as we can take them in pram to parks or garden. There they can look around over various things in the environment like leaves of the tree moving or squirrels or sky. All that would give a good visual stimulation to the child. Infants soon start recognizing patterns. So, making faces is a very good exercise that could be done with the infants. For example, little activities like you moving your eyebrows up and down or blowing air inside your mouth and making faces. So, infants find interesting because soon they start recognizing, especially their parents' faces, mothers and fathers. So, when they play with the child with making faces, that is a small activity which comes under visual stimulation. So these are simple activities that parents can do with toys or without toys. So it requires your time and energy. So with these little activities, visionary stimulation can be done. Now coming to activities related to sound. The sense of hearing develops much more before than vision. Often it is said that infants can hear voices inside the womb of mother. Thus, this is a very nice way of stimulation. So, playing music is one of the way infants can be stimulated. Care should be taken that the music should be soft and supple and pleasant, not very loudy or noisy. Talking to babies. Though often parents think infants doesn't understand their language, but when babies giggle, make cooing and babbling sounds and parents reciprocate to it in the form of conversation or verbal repetition, that impacts them positively. So infants love to be to love when parents have communication or conversation with them. So it is a very nice activity to talk to your infant often for small durations. So talking to baby without the perception that he is not understanding would be a good exercise to do. Reading stories to babies. If you can't talk just like that, some parents may like to read small stories or paragraphs to the babies. Rhymes and lullabies are age-old and positive way of sound stimulation. So mothers and fathers can sing to their babies with love and affection. That would be a good stimulation activity. Activities related to touch. Love is one of the basic and important way of stimulation that parents should use. In case of babies, one of the way to show love and affection is cuddling with baby, picking up, settling the baby. All activities like bathing the baby or giving a good massage is a form of giving touch to the baby. Parents should always remember that picking up baby with love and affection or in anger or anxiously would make a difference in their experience. They are small, but they do feel that difference. And developing secure bonds with parents would be only possible when we handle infants with love and affection. At the age of weaning, when the child starts taking stuff other than milk, that is obviously after 6 months of breastfeeding, parents may slowly introduce different flavors or smell of food. So that could be a little activity of stimulation through taste and smell, but in a gentle manner and being carefully that the infant is liking or disliking the flavor. So like this, there are a number of other activities that can be thought for. Parents could be creative in doing that. So basically giving love, affection and lots of play is important, but we should never overstimulate. Remember that infants have small attention span, so the timing of these activities should be short and brief. So this paper overall makes us aware about infant stimulation, what it is, how it is done, and what important role it plays in cognitive development. Thank you all for listening so patiently. Coming to references and suggested readings. So we have the book Child Development by Laura A. Burke and a book The First 5 Years by Swaminathan. These two books are very good and all the students should go through them. Laura E. Burke's The Child Development, you will get good account of infancy period, all the stages of development in infancy, reflexes, and a number of things that is basically required for the course. Then you have this chapter early stimulation, link is given on the second number. It is a research paper. I have gone through it. It has good information as we have discussed developmental tasks and milestones, so that are given very well in the paper, and also certain infant stimulation activities that can be done by parent and the family environment. All these topics are also covered in this paper, so go through that. Other links have been given that would be helpful in getting the reading material related to infant stimulation. Then other than these references and suggested readings, there are three theories that should be definitely read by the students, and these theories are Piaget's theory, that is the first stage, especially the sensory motor stage, that is very important to understand the cognitive development in infancy period, so that should be read by students. And then Erickson's theory, the first stage, that talks about trust versus mistrust, how the bonding between parents and the development of trust and secure relationships impact in future, so that is a good thing to be read about. And then we have the third theory, that is ecological theory by Bronfenbrenner. So all these theoretical backgrounds would help you in understanding the course in a more better manner. Thank you.